dad say no to naming me Drew.
Oh, is there a Drew in it?
Because the guy named Andrew in that doesn't exactly survive.
Wah, 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 wah. Well,
What?
That's the only thing I remember.
That's too bad.
Oh
I don't even know what happens to that character. But
Paul, can you say something real quick?
Yeah, real quick. This is Paul.
Okay, can you play a sound effect?
That's a pretty good idea.
Okay. For some reason, it looked like you were coming in
up
over here, but it's not. Ashley, can you say something, please?
Say something, Ashley,
Okay,
please.
thank you. Okay, it's working. Hey, Bobo. Yes, you are first, and what's up with you? Okay.
Nice.
guess I should have the...
Oh, did you get...
Hey,
Bobo commented. Did you get his comment?
I did.
I'll get it.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I got it. By the
Okay.
skin of your teeth, Bobo.
Jeez. That should have been in days ago.
Yeah, gosh.
Exactly.
What the heck would you do in a situation like
Oh
that?
my God.
Oh, give him a break.
Considering last week last episode I got my comment on the Blues Brothers in before I found out I was going to be on the episode.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and get going. I'm recording here. I'm recording on OBS. It is recording, and the timer's ticking.
And I've got my recorder going.
Okay, awesome.
You didn't do the...
Oh, we needed the 5 seconds. Yeah, thank you, Paul. All right, here we're going to just don't mute yourselves or anything like that. You guys know the drill. Just be quiet for 5 seconds, starting now. Thank you.
Okay, Power Rangers, let's do it!
Oh my gosh.
Yay.
All right. Then we're recording, and I'm ready to hit start. Okay. Then here we go, guys. We're gonna start that.
Brother, here we go.
Oh, brother, where are
In
you?
5, 4, 3. Dang, we're in a tight spot for this episode. Oh, dang it! I forgot. I'm trying to add the number.
I thought you were doing Napoleon Dynamite. I went, dang.
Dang, really tight spot.
I didn't go dang. I went dang.
You almost did.
Oh, you almost did.
I brought it back. Okay.
No, you didn't.
Sweet.
Hold on, I'm editing this script. Okay, here we go. Try again. 3,
All
2.
right.
Dang, we're in a tight spot. What are you talking over me? I had it. It was perfect.
No, you didn't. You're
Now
deleting.
I'm checking the gate and it's horrible. All right, here we go.
Lucky.
Take 3. I got it in my head. Dang, we're in a tight spot for this episode. Dang it, Francisco.
You were good.
No,
That
no,
was
no.
better.
So
That
you
was the
said
best
dang
one
it.
yet.
Okay. Dang, we're in a tight spot for
No,
episode.
your dang needs to have more twang to it.
You need to be
Dang.
Dang.
Okay, all right.
Dang.
Okay.
Tight spot.
Dang. We're in a tight spot.
Oh, thank you, Geek Devotions. This is very kind of you. All right. Dang, we're in a tight spot for episode 306 of the Retro Rewind podcast.
Retro systems online. Reflux capacitor fluxing. Scanning room space-time for. Oh brother, where art thou? 2000. Rewinding in. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, Rewinders and new listeners, to the Retro Rewind podcast, where we take a fresh look at movies and games from 15 or more years ago. I'm your captain of the pod, Francisco Ruiz, and I'm joined by your XO and mine, Paul, the PaulJPowers.com, Escape from a Chain Gang Powers.
Do not seek the treasure.
That's nice. Also, for this discussion of the film, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? We welcome back on board Administration Officer of the pod, Ashley Ruiz. Hey, Ashley.
Hi.
Hello, hello.
Do not seek the treasure.
Yeah, I'll seek whatever treasure I want. And if he was an oracle, then he would know there was no treasure. Oh, booyah. In addition, we have back aboard. I may be a little salty this episode. We have back aboard Archives Officer of the pod, Drew Dodgen. Hey, Drew.
We thought you was a toad.
Well, you thought wrong, dude. And now that I have a quick flyby of who we are, Paul, can you give us a quick overview of the production specs for Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Sure, and it's great to have Drew from the Cellcast on here because we're reviewing Brother Bear, which was released October
my
20th,
gosh.
2003. It's rated G, runs an hour and 25 minutes. It was directed by Aaron Blaise
Paul,
and Robert Walker.
Paul,
Yeah?
wrong brother
What?
movie.
I would
This
have
is-
watched that movie. Rick Moranis is a moose.
He is a moose. And
Right.
isn't his like strange brew cohort the other moose?
Yes.
Yes.
But we're not talking
So
about.
we're not reviewing that movie?
No, this is
No.
Oh
In this
Brother,
instance,
Where
I
Art
probably-
Thou?
In this instance, I
Oh.
probably should have said, "We thought you was a bear."
That would be pretty good.
That could have been brought to my attention yesterday.
Sorry.
Fine, I'll go back and rewind.
Yes, do it.
All right. Oh, brother, why are we covering this movie?
Oh, nice.
Oh.
You know, so Ashley was asking who nominated this, and I could not find who the nomination was. I think this came from our
me.
old. It was
It
you.
was me. I'm
You!
the one who put this on the list
But
originally.
there
my.
have been plenty of nominated films. This
put this on
was
here a
also
long
voted
time
up.
ago.
Yeah, this
so
was
the
voted up.
listeners know, we review movies based on you, the listening audience. You
Exactly.
can what is it? You can nominate it, and you
Can
and
vote
all the
on the
listeners get to
nominations.
vote
Yep.
on it.
Mhm.
Where do they go?
RetroRewindPodcast.com/vote.
And apparently, this one was voted up so many times, way more than others, that we're reviewing it just for you. So,
Indeed.
Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? December 22nd, the year 2000.
Ooh, that was a long time ago.
There was. It
It's
used to be in the
kinda
future,
retro
but no
now.
more.
It's almost
kinda like-
24 years.
Yeah. Okay, the movie Oh Brother, Where Art Thou runs 1 hour 47 minutes, is rated PG-13, and it was rated. Sorry, I just said that, right? Sorry,
Mhm. Yeah, you
I'm
did.
getting ahead of myself in my head. It's rated PG-13. It was directed by the Coen brothers, both Joel and Ethan. It was written by Homer and Joel and Ethan Coen, with lead stars being George Clooney, John Turturro, and Tim Blake Nelson. And the music was composed by T-Bone Burnett. Are you okay? You ready for the box office trivia?
I mean, I'm ready. Everyone in chat, you're welcome to join as well. But Drew and Ashley, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm
All
ready.
right. Then go for it, Paul.
All right. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou was made for about $26 million and earned over $75 million at the box office.
Well done.
Yes. Given this fact, how high in the box office do you think it ranks among the movies released theatrically in the year 2000? And we'll go for the top 2000.
Wow. Okay.
I
Ashley,
don't think there were 2,000 movies.
Yeah, to help you out, it's within the top 100.
I was gonna say I don't think 2,000 movies. Well, at least
Yeah.
got a theatric release in the year 2000.
You are correct.
I
So-
think Feeders 2 came out in 2000.
I was gonna say another Clooney movie came out in 2002. One that I actually saw when it was released. But
Oh, okay.
you said top 100.
Yes, top
Yes.
100.
I want to say like 72.
72. All right. Drew, what's your guess?
I'm going to give it 9.
9. Wow. Okay.
Very optimistic.
I was about to say Paul, but you you know the number. We don't seem to have anyone guessing in chat. So never mind. Just in. Skin of his teeth again. Bobo guesses 18. And I'm just gonna middle of the road it with 50. So Paul, where did it actually end up?
Well, according to
Geek
the
Devotions guesses 5. So
Even more about the
barely
Skin of His Teeth.
made
Right.
it. Good job, Geek Devotions, because according to the-numbers.com, it comes in at 5
What?
2
Oh.
52.
so I win.
Oh.
That's
Captain.
right.
Good job, Captain. No Captain.
Thank you. So 52. All right. Very good. Very good. Well, maybe there's that means there's probably some good reasons to see it, some not so good reasons to see it, and we'll discuss that all. But first, I want to thank Paul for those factoids, and let's see if any of them factor into our memory mind meld, or a subsequent roundtable discussion, which we'll get into once Alice has located our target film.
Alert. Alert. Target located. Spoilers incoming. Establishing analysis vector.
elected you leader of this outfit?
Well, Pete, I figured it should be the one with the capacity for abstract thought.
Okay. I'm with you fellas.
To get to a hidden fortune, Ulysses Everett McGill and his friends will do anything.
Hey, any boys, Smithies.
But they're about to get off on the wrong track.
Damn, we're in a tight spot.
We got 4 days to get to that treasure.
$1 million.
Main point, too.
From the Coen brothers, the Academy Award-winning creators of Fargo.
Ain't you gonna introduce us, Pete?
I've seen them first.
Comes the movie critics are calling the best film of the year.
And maybe there's a reason critics are calling that the best film of the year, but I don't really remember what they said about it. Instead, I just have actually no memories of this film, which we'll get into in a second. But let's see what our collective memory, mind, and mouth synopsis was for Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? ER Dr. Clooney and 2 guys escape from a chain gang in the early 1900s dirty South. George Nelson, not Babyface, robs a bank with the help of our heroes. Then Ocean's 3 become famous singers while trying to avoid being recaptured by the police. Finally, the prophecy is fulfilled of a cow on a cotton house after Bruce Wayne's house is flooded. I see. Because in the end, it all gets washed away. That's right, the whole film. Okay. So it seemed like some of that was apropos to this film, but I'd say a little bit of it at least was deceptive. There's no Bruce Wayne in this. But based on those memories, as flawed as they were, what reign did they lead you to predict for this movie before you rewatched it? Classic, nostalgic, and tragic. And also, when did you first see this film? So let's start with Ashley.
Okay. The first I can't tell you that I have any memory of this movie because for preparing for this podcast was the first time I ever saw it. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing trailers back in the year 2000. It came out after my 13th birthday. And when I saw the trailer, I thought it looked stupid. And I thought that I wasn't going to ever see that movie. And I intended to keep it that way until you're like, wife, I need your help. And I said, okay. So I thought going into this movie that it was going to be tragic.
Okay. Tragic. Wow.
Because you didn't learn from Napoleon Dynamite?
What was that, Paul?
I said because you didn't learn from Napoleon Dynamite? It sounds like the same story as Napoleon. Well, kind of like, never mind.
That was the same perspective I had on that movie too, but I didn't get forced to be on that episode.
That's true. Drew, what was your prediction and when did you first see this movie?
I predicted it would be a classic, and I first saw this movie on opening weekend.
Oh, wow. Okay.
2000. And I probably saw the Man of Constant Sorrow music video on GAC TV for pretty much every morning of my high school life, because that's how long it played on the TV my dad was watching. So,
wow, crazy.
Yeah, my wife and I were talking about that. That music video was everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big like MTV or VH1 watching person, and I remember seeing it playing everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. I never really cared though. It didn't seem like the type of music I really cared for. It connected to a movie I didn't care about, but we'll save that for my prediction here in a second. Paul, what was your prediction for this film?
So even though I saw the music video everywhere, I never saw it.
Okay. Yeah. When did you first see
2000. It? Actually, it feels like I just saw this for the first time a couple months ago, but actually when recalculating, it was September of last year. So
okay.
That's like, 9 months ago or something? Almost getting close to a year coming up in a few months.
Yeah, more like close to 11 months ago.
Yeah, so that's when I first saw it. I didn't think we'd be reviewing it on the podcast so soon because I didn't think, like many movies, don't get voted up that quick. Yeah. So I thought I was safe. But no, and I didn't enjoy it, so I predicted tragic.
Tragic. All right.
Why are we doing this?
Because it got voted.
Oh, wow.
Similar.
I'm going to be the Lone Ranger in this episode, aren't I?
Similar to Ashley, this was my first time seeing this film. I never had any desire to see it. It didn't seem like a movie that, I remember the trailers and thinking it looked sort of dumb. So I predicted tragic as well.
Wow.
But maybe having watched this film, it really, sold us. And it's like, wow, we've been missing this whole time. And given that, I mean, there must have been some great things we liked about it, if that's the impression it ultimately left us with. So let's get to the things we liked about Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Alice?
Best bits.
And let's begin. Since he seems the most positive, at least prediction-wise, let's start with you, Drew. What's one thing you liked about Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
I liked the old-timey music recorded on modern equipment.
Okay.
Because most of these songs, with the exception of the song playing during the opening, Big Rock Candy Mountain, nearly every single one of these was recorded, if not for this film, then right before the film.
Okay.
For other albums. But I grew up, whether I wanted to or not, listening to this kind of music. Because
I don't think You Are My Sunshine was recorded right before this.
At least, I didn't say it was a new song.
I'm
just saying
he's talking about arrangements and with contemporary adaptations.
Because if you go and listen to the original recordings of these songs from the original artists, you're going to be listening through a can.
And that's what I saw in this movie. That's what I expect for the realism.
Moving on. I am not dignifying that.
But no, you really enjoyed the music.
I will say, growing up, I did not like this style of music, but it grew on me over the years. Mm-hmm. And so now hearing these versions of the song, including Man of Constant Sorrow, which is, admittedly, I'd never heard the original song even until this movie came out. So as far as I'm concerned, the Soggy Bottom Boys are the ones who originated it. But
if you had heard it, the original, or at least one of the original, a lot of the ones before, the versions before this, they are very
slow and boring.
So I'm sure they are, because this is a lot more upbeats than
definitely
a song you would think, a song called Man of Constant Sorrow you would think would be.
Yeah.
But I grew up listening to this old timey music. I did, and that is their genre. It is not bluegrass and it is not country. That didn't start till about 10 years after this movie takes place. Mm. But yeah, I grew up listening to this kind of music, and I'd liked hearing these versions of it, even if at the time this movie came out, I just said I didn't like it, but I like it now. So yeah.
Okay. Very nice. Ashley, I know you're really very appreciative of music. Did that make one of your likes, or was there something else that you appreciate about this movie?
It was actually something else. So, like Drew said, classic songs recorded on modern equipment, kind of giving it a new feel.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool that this film was loosely based on the Odyssey. I thought that there were elements that were so easily spotted through characters, through setting, and I thought that was super duper cool.
Yeah.
It was cool seeing a Depression era Cyclops representation through John Goodman's character. It was cool seeing this trio of women being seen as sirens. It was just cool to see all of those representations and kind of seeing this as a hero's journey, even though they were outlaws trying to get his treasure, where in the original, the treasure was going home to his family. And that was kind of where we were led, even though the film was represented as him seeking after this treasure of $1.2 million. So it was cool to see. It was cool to see an adaptation, a modern adaptation set in the Deep South, in the Depression era, in rural Mississippi. It was really cool to see that. And even though it didn't follow the story beat by beat, it was cool to see what they did with it and drew inspiration from.
Yeah. Not really along those lines, but something that I think would have only come out of this era, like a film based in this era, was I enjoyed the gag of Dapper Dan hair fop,
the pomade
thing that George Clooney's character had. That was just like a fun little character quirk that you don't have to have
the Dapper Man on.
Exactly, but that was just,
get him some of that pomade.
That's why he's not here.
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't have the pomade for him.
But so that's something I liked.
We could probably get it in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Do they still make it?
No, they never made it.
Then how would I get it?
I'm being facetious. I'm making a joke from the movie.
Wow. Oh, because it's 2 weeks from everywhere.
Ain't this a geographical oddity? 2 weeks from everywhere.
Paul, what's something? Don't make us wait 2 weeks to hear something you liked about this film.
Well, I don't know if it's worth waiting at all, but something I liked was some of the writing I thought was very well done in the dialogue, especially with George Clooney's character Everett, Ulysses Everett. Some of his the way he also his delivery of his quick talking, but a lot of his like modernisms and stuff that came through, and is like, if you really look at this, and he was like the brain of it, and he seemed the way it was portrayed. I enjoyed. He's definitely the brain of the bunch, and the leading of it. So I thought it was well done.
Awesome. Let's go back to Ashley. What's something else you liked?
Oh, I absolutely adored the cinematography in this movie. Just all the angles that they used, all of the locations where the characters were, and just the different techniques that they used.
Yeah.
What's crazy is John Goodman is like an inch or two taller than Clooney, but the camera angles that they used in that scene with John Teagues made him seem a little bit bigger than life to that trio of men. And it was just cool to see that and just really capture the beauty of rural Mississippi and seeing all the different areas that they went to. And I thought it painted a beautiful picture of the hero's journey. So I just love how they captured the setting and all the different scenes and all the different angles and all the different spectacles that we got to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I may say more about that later, though. But for now, cool. Drew, what's something else you liked? Was a spectacle to your eyes?
Well, what I like about this, I think we mentioned it earlier, but I like that this is basically a Southern mythological tale. I think I actually wrote down Southern fairy tale because it kind of has that kind of a feeling to it.
Okay.
Like a Grimm's fairy tales type of thing, but set in the South. Maybe I'm talking out my butt. I don't know. But I love this.
That's a different movie.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. That's what Drew can see my facial expressions. I'm like going, huh, really? Huh?
Well, it's a mythological tale.
It's mythological.
Sure, okay.
I'm kind of leaning more into the feeling of fairy tale, but yeah. I just love that this is like basically whereas the Odyssey, the original Homer's Odyssey was Greek mythology. This is almost Southern mythology, I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
Okay.
It's a good
I love the epicness, the mythological epicness of the way it's told and the story. This is just a fun movie for me, and I don't know. I just like the tall-tailedness of it. If that's a term.
Yeah. I'm curious. Are you a fan of the movie Big Fish at all?
A little. I have issues with that one, but
really. You have issues with that one. Okay.
I don't have issues with that one.
Well, this does seem like a Big Fish tale, but it's told in a very realistic way.
Yeah.
Well, what's
like to some degree, even though there's a lot of magic that seems to be interwoven into this story, I could see this happening.
So I honestly don't see much of the magic here, but Paul, what was something that was magical for you that made your like list?
Well, not so much magical, but
what was totally mundane that you loved? What?
Oh my God.
Slightly more than mundane were the three main characters I found were interesting, especially the character of Delmar O'Donnell, played by Tim Blake Nelson. He was my favorite character. The not so smart but very kind of almost innocent, a little too
it felt like
naive.
He was the heart of that group.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
He was my favorite of all the characters. He was my favorite, especially after the baptism scene where he was just so excited to be baptized and all that. It just really warmed my heart.
And that's exactly my next like too, Paul. Is I loved he's the character that was so endearing. I love that his desire to do with the money was to buy his family's farm back from the bank or something, I think. I thought that was so honorable. And yeah, he had a lot of heart, like you said, Ashley. He was like the heart of the group. And I really resonated with his character. And so he is my second like. But now let's get to the things we loved most about Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Let's get to our classic makers. Drew, what drew you into this film the most?
Well, it's funny you mentioned Delmar because it's not just him. It's actually the chemistry between all three of our main characters.
Okay.
I think they work so well off of each other that I can honestly, they're fun to watch. Their antics going back and forth. It leads to some of the most quotable lines in the film.
Like what?
Just like
we thought you was a toad.
Yeah, we thought you was a toad, or you two are dumber than a sack of hammers.
Okay. All right.
Or I'm trying to think, or when they're in the car with George Nelson. No, not Babyface. We learned not to say that. George Nelson, and he goes, "Oh, George, not the livestock."
Yeah, so sad.
Is that an actual character from history or something?
Babyface Nelson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep,
I don't
yep,
know.
He's as popular as Bonnie. He's the same as Bonnie and Clyde.
Obviously not. I hadn't heard of him.
Well, Google names for a change.
Now I had to do research.
For a podcast, yes. No, Babyface Nelson was a big thief back in the day.
Oh, he
Okay.
was.
All right.
Yeah, this is not an original character.
Got it. Okay. Let's see. Ashley, why don't you give us an original classic maker? Unless it happens to be the same as Drew.
No, it's not the same. What I thought was what was classic for me was the world that was built in this movie. From the setting to the characters to the costumes, the locations, the music. It felt like a legitimate recreation of the time and place that the movie took place in.
Yeah.
So it built this world that was incredibly believable. I believed all the characters were from this place, and it created a wonderful setting for the film.
Yeah, and I'll go off that with my classic maker because it relates to that in one of your previous likes, and I just thought the cinematography was so rich and vibrant. The way everything was shot, it really made me feel like I was watching like something happen in like the Depression era South or Dust Bowl South. I forget exactly where they said this was,
Depression.
but Depression, yeah.
1937.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
This was nowhere near where the Dust Bowl happened.
That's
so
true.
you're schooling me on historic figures and now geography. Thanks, Drew. I feel really good about myself.
I can't
Apparently you
help
need
it if
it.
you don't know the difference between Mississippi and the Panhandle of Oklahoma.
I thought it happened all over the breadbasket was the Dust Bowl.
Well,
There's a bread basket?
the plains,
I
but
mean-
I mainly know of it in the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma.
Okay, fine. Regardless, yeah, it's just how this movie was shot. I thought I just wanted to like look at paintings or not paintings, but like photographs of this, how it was shot.
Of the Depression
not of
in the
Depression.
South?
Just I don't.
There's plenty out there.
I'm having trouble.
Are you saying you would be very interested in like a behind the scenes of how they captured the cinematography and
the even though the color tone yellow was very used, they graded this yellow very much. It felt just so right. The decisions they made and how they shot this film, I felt like were right on the money for the tone they were going for.
The
So-
DVD I know had a special feature on that cinematography, and basically they were trying to give it kind of an old-timey photograph feel.
Yeah.
they captured
While
that
still
perfectly.
being in full color.
Yeah, they did that perfectly. Yes. So that was my classic. maker.
Lightly sepia.
Early Photoshop.
Paul, that leaves you. What was your classic maker for this film?
So for me, the classic maker of this film was the music. I thought it was the best part of the film. In fact, the soundtrack of this film did so much better than the movie.
Oh yeah, I think I read that.
And it was actually one of four. There's four soundtracks that have ever won Grammy of the Year or Album of the Year for the Grammys.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
let's do a fun little fun fact. The four that have won that are soundtrack. The first one was.
Do we get to
music
guess?
I was gonna say, can I guess?
Yeah, let's
All right,
go.
you can guess. Go for it.
I just want to.
Footloose.
I want to just guess that The Bodyguard is on there somewhere because that
All right,
soundtrack.
The Bodyguard is one.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
that-
just
that
because
was 1994.
Love that
fine. I guess-
soundtrack.
I'm guessing the soundtrack to Footloose.
Titanic.
All right,
Let
One
me
of
have a
them
guess. Don't take all the
that's
guesses.
fine. They're both wrong. You can still
I
guess.
at least got one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I was
So
going to guess
two,
Titanic.
Oh Brother, Where Art Thou and The Bodyguard are on there. There's two that have not
Okay.
been named yet.
And it's not Titanic, you said? Okay. Then Back to the Future.
Wishful thinking.
No.
Yeah.
One is music from the Peter Gunn from 1959
Oh,
TV
okay.
show.
Never would have gotten that.
And the second one is from 1979's Saturday Night Fever.
Oh,
that
I like
makes
that.
sense.
That movie's okay. I like the soundtrack
And
to that.
so
movie.
this
I
movie,
didn't get past the beginning of that film.
yeah, this movie, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, is the last soundtrack to have won Album of the Year so far.
Oh, yeah. The Grammys are over now. Never again.
Never again.
But okay, cool. That
So,
was a fun little
I
info.
thought the music was great. In fact, the redone version of Man of Constant Sorrow, I think, is the best thing. They were right to use it in all their promos. It's the best thing of this film, in my opinion. It's almost as good as that one song.
Oh my gosh. I was wondering how you were going to tie that in. Well done. Well done. Clap and a half
and
to you.
Bobo's right. The Blues Brothers was not on that list of Grammy Best Album of the Year.
No,
sorry.
you don't say.
But it did make a lot of money.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
this one did.
Yes. Awesome, Paul. Well,
You forgot something, didn't you?
What did
Sorry.
you
You
remember?
forgot that you forgot?
He legitimately forgot this time, folks.
geez. I remembered, guys. Sorry. One thing I obviously very much forgot was my one more like I had. I know we just did Classic Makers, but I did have an additional like, and that's going to have to be the Untold Podcast. The Untold Podcast is a speculative fiction podcast utilizing the genres of sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, among others, in order to engage the culture's imagination from a Christian worldview. Every month, Nathan James Norman produces and narrates a new story presented in a unique and dynamic way. Check out the Untold Podcast at www.untoldpodcast.com to listen and leave them a review on Apple Podcasts.
Big sigh. Because what does the Untold Podcast have to do with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Well, it's
They're
not
both tall
directly related, but sometimes the stories on there are like retellings of other stories, much like this is a retelling, can I quote harder, of the Odyssey.
Adaptation.
Yeah. Okay, that's very good because
I mean,
thought
you could claim this movie is speculative fiction.
Yeah, that's true too.
that's a very good tie-in. I thought you were gonna say it's been so long since Nathan James Norman's been on the show. I've been wondering, oh brother, where art thou?
That would have been way funnier, but not quite as much of a tie-in. Okay, how about some trivia about this movie, Paul?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
All right. So, did you all realize that although Homer is given a co-writing credit on the film, Joel Cohen and Ethan Cohen claim never to have read The Odyssey are familiar with it only through cultural osmosis and film adaptations.
No kidding.
With that in mind, have you guys ever read The Odyssey?
No, but I saw the DuckTales episode about it.
That's good.
I have read parts of it because it was
Same.
included in my world literature class, but it was not the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, same.
How about you, Ashley?
I'm the only one that read through the whole thing because
Oh,
we
wow.
read it in my English class in 9th grade. So we read through the whole thing. So,
Nice.
and I'll just say, loose adaptation. Yeah, it couldn't be more loose.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
By people who've never read it.
Yeah, but people who have never read it, they know, like, okay, we know the basic premise. We know the name of the character. We know 2 characters from this. Here we go. Let's do this.
Yeah.
But you know what?
It should have been said it was inspired by Homer's Odyssey.
I was about to say
stop. I'm getting some roboting from you guys all of a sudden. So just talk again normally, but don't actually say stuff for the podcast, just so I can hear you.
Okay. Am I
You're
a
not
robot?
now.
2002, 1000,
Okay, good.
3,
All right.
1000.
Okay, we can continue.
Slow
Thank
and
you.
boring.
We can continue now.
I was about to say it's as faithful as any Hollywood true life adaptation.
suppose.
So what are you going to do?
Baba says, "Did you know Homer did not live long enough to see this movie? No way!
Gee.
I can't believe it, Babo."
Yeah, we would have never known.
Jeez. All right. So so thank you for answering that
Homer.
trivia, and kudos to you, Ashley, for having read the whole thing.
They made us.
Okay, well, still, you did it. You succeeded.
great.
What was that?
Good job.
Oh,
and
thank
now
you.
that we've all had some trivial fun, let's find out what memories you, the Rad Rewinders, man. Sorry, Rad Rewinders, you're pretty rad, even with me messing it up. But let's see what you had to say about Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Let's see. David Gardner says, "Watch the movie after loving the soundtrack and hearing it was a retelling of the Odyssey. I meet that goal as well as Francisco thinks it met that goal as well as Francisco thinks Monty Python does The Legend of King Arthur." Yeah.
Okay, I'll go. Michael Fraley says, "It's the delightful touch of absurdity and snappy, witty dialogue that I love." Yeah, I mentioned the dialogue, yeah.
Yeah. Danae Berg says, "The Soggy Bomb Boys, songs of salvation to salve the soul."
Yeah. James Felix says, "We're in a tight spot."
Dave Manley says, "As it turns out, it's Alison Krauss's birthday." And who is that? I'm not sure who that is.
She's one of the singers for a lot of the songs.
Yeah,
And it's in fact
sang "Down to the River to Pray."
Yeah, she's in that one, and it's from her band that the lead singer of the Soggy Bottom Boys actually is. Since that's not George Clooney singing.
No.
Wait, I thought it was a man that sung George Clooney's parts.
It is, but the
he's
lead
from her band.
The lead backup from her
Oh,
band. Is the one
I
who
see.
actually sang the
Okay,
song.
thank you.
That's what I was trying to say. But
Okay.
yeah, she is heavily involved throughout the film. I think the only song she sung on was "Go to Sleep, Little Baby."
Gotcha. So as the day of this recording, or wherever when David posted this, it was her birthday, so that's fun. And she performed "Down to the River to Pray," just like you said,
Yeah,
Drew.
that one.
And "Didn't Leave Nobody But the Baby."
Yeah, both those songs.
Who Will Save Generation X podcast says, "People are going to hate me. I didn't like this movie." Hey, he's quoting me.
Hey.
David Bobkey ends it out with, "I have played Poe Lazarus many a time when shoveling snow." I don't know what that is.
That's
but okay.
the first song that this Chain Gang was singing.
Oh, okay. Surprisingly good soundtrack, great performances, terrific version of a classic tale. Wait a minute. Am I not there right now? I thought I was supposed to hijack the ship. No, you're not here, Bobo. Just as well.
I mean,
I'm kind of
technically he is in the chat.
But he's kind of tired right now, at least tired enough to hijack the ship. So he's curious, if you could have hijacked this movie, what are some things you would have left out? Well, funny you asked that, Bobo. And since you asked that, and Who Will Save Generation podcast didn't like this movie, there's things we didn't like about this film. So let's discuss those now.
Worst woos.
And I will go ahead and start with how
does this podcast work?
How does technology work? How does your microphone work?
No,
how did this movie get made?
I mean, those are all valid questions, but how did they escape the chain gang?
They broke the chain with the I'm assuming with their sledgehammers that they were using to break the rocks. Why that meant the other two got out, I don't know.
How did they escape though? There's guards everywhere.
Well, it
around
happened.
them.
They were all turned the wrong way at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't happen often, but it happens.
Yep.
Of all the least plausible things happening, that you picked that one.
You just
okay.
need a blind eye.
That
That's
was
all
the
you
one
need.
that was the easiest one to figure out.
Okay, well, riddle me this.
Where's my next dislike of 100 of them?
No, that's just one of several things where it didn't seem to make a lot of sense why something happened or how something happened. So
Yeah. How did they sneak in with clip things to free their one later, like, and all get out? Like, where are the guards? There's a lot of times where, like,
where things just don't seem to add up. So that's one thing I didn't like.
They didn't have cameras back in those days, Francisco. They weren't watching us all the time like Big Brother is now.
I mean, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Paul, what's something you didn't like?
I found it frustrating that for some reason I wasn't really that engaged in rooting for the guys. I thought maybe story-wise they could have introduced the kids or the treasure earlier, something to make us long for, like, wrongfully imprisoned, because hey, these people are in prison. I'm not rooting for these guys just because they escape from prison. I know some people would be, but they could be mass murderers on the loose, or they could be wrongfully imprisoned. I don't know. Put something in there to make me want to root for these guys. Wrongfully imprisoned, or getting back to the kids or the money earlier, something so that when that does fall apart, you're even more sad or whatever. I just wasn't engaged as much as I think I would have liked to be for this kind of story.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Ashley, did you find you were engaged in this story? And if so, what took you out of that engagement?
Well, a lot of the things that took me out of this movie was just the writing in general, the things that were supposed to be perceived as humorous. I think there was only one time I smirked or kind of half smiled, and it was the second time that the police caught up with them and they set the barn on fire.
That was fun. Yeah.
Because it's like, really?
You were laughing that they set the barn on fire?
It just was the same thing again that you weren't expecting.
Yeah, it was unexpected because the police came to the same foregone conclusion. Oh, they must be in the barn, so let's set the barn on fire. And it was just so like
the first time.
Yeah, because it worked. Yeah, because they were in a tight spot the first time. They got away, and it worked so well for the police. So logically, it would make perfect sense to do it again when they had so much success. But yeah, so much of the writing, just the absurdity of it all the things that happened, just the lines that people say are quote worthy, like "we thought you were a toad" or whatever the line is. So much of it is just
delivery of it that
I know, but I'm just gonna say, like, all of those things, they just didn't land, and I couldn't engage with it.
Yeah,
right.
I can totally appreciate that.
If it didn't work for you, it didn't work for you.
Yeah.
And what didn't work for you, Drew? What's something you didn't like?
So I'm just going to go ahead and say for both my first and second dislike, I know why they're here, but that doesn't mean I like it.
Wait, you don't like that these are on your dislikes?
I don't like these two things in the movie, even though I know why they're here.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay,
that's what I meant. Okay, that's what I meant. And my first one of those is going to be the KKK.
Okay.
I just don't like the fact we even bring them up. I wish we hadn't had to bring them. I understand why they're there. It's supposed to basically be representing the underworld that they're saving Tommy from. I just hate that we had to go through this part, and then that brings the Cyclops John Goodman back in for
hold on before you. Please give me a second before we get to the Cyclops of John Goodman.
Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. I just wanted to mention on the KKK. It's surprisingly how well that scene is done between the costumes.
It is done very well, and there are very few organizations that you can just say the name of it and you don't have to explain why they're evil, and the KKK is one of those.
And I don't even think they even mentioned the KKK.
No, they didn't even say the name.
They never do. They just show guys walking around in white hoods, and the main villain at the end says, "I'm part of a certain organization."
Yep.
I don't think so. Certain secret society. I don't think I have to mention its name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like, we know what it is. I wish you could have told that part of the story, gotten Tommy back with the group without having to go through having them on screen, because it still creeps me out and makes me feel uneasy watching it in the privacy of my own home.
It's uncomfortable.
I agree.
It's uncomfortable, but they did such a good job with it.
I agree.
Which just makes it even more jarring.
Right.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I like it.
Right.
I understand it's done well. I understand why it's here. I just don't like it.
And the character of John Goodman, the Cyclops.
John Teagues.
Did you have something else
Bible
to say
salesman?
about that?
Yeah, I mentioned that it's an excuse to bring him back in. That's almost unnecessary, though. He does things I know the Cyclops does in the Odyssey, capturing almost getting his other eye poked out with the flag. Though admittedly, he after the guy said don't let the flag touch the ground, he kind of the way he angles that when he brings it down, the flag has got to be touching the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he's disrespecting their flag, but it's just one of those things coming in it from a 90s perspective, and that's of the time I grew up in, and seeing this still makes me feel kind of
okay.
Maybe this was not the best choice. Maybe we could have done this differently. I don't know.
We needed the Illinois Nazis, I think, is what we needed for this.
That was at least funny. This
was it though?
Creeped out.
Okay. No, that's totally fair, Drew. Let's snake draft back to Ashley. What's something else you didn't like?
I know that the movie's soundtrack won Album of the Year for the Grammys, and it's generally regarded as the soundtrack being better than the movie itself. And the music is fantastically woven in throughout the movie, but the genre, the style of music is not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
It was
Fair
really
enough.
hard to sit through this movie and listen all of it. And a bonus dislike, I really dislike that they had voice dubbing, especially when you learn like George Clooney and all of the cast members, they were working really, really hard to build up their skill. And one of the characters, what is his name? The one that played Delmar, he actually did sing in that one song in the movie, and he did a great job. He did a great job, and it was just really disappointing that it was overdubbed. It kind of took the believability out for me because that voice does not look just all of the lip sync, it doesn't match. That voice is not coming from Clooney. Those voices are not coming.
Yeah.
Those are not the Soggy Bottom Boys. I can't. It just.
I will say that at least the guy who's singing for George Clooney, his voice at least mimics Clooney's enough that it was believable for me 24 years ago.
Yeah,
but I get it because it's kind of it would have been nice to hear an original version with Clooney's singing in there.
Yeah,
even if
no, you don't want that.
I don't know, but just I don't know. I know that the music plays into the Americana of the film. It's perfectly suited for the time period. It's perfectly suited for the location. But not being a fan of that style of music, it's unsettling for me, and it's just hard to go through an entire film where music is such a huge part of everything, and that the fact that the trio of main characters end up becoming a musical act to get some quick money and then ultimately save their skin. It's hard.
No, that's fair.
Oh, I bought it.
Considering, just out of curiosity, Ashley, considering the setting, what style would you have preferred?
You couldn't have done any other style of music.
Okay, I'm just curious.
So I don't know that you could have gone with any.
It was doomed from the start.
I mean, you could have possibly done more gospel-esque, but even gospel music from that time is very in line with what they're doing. Because, like you said earlier, it's kind of the foundational music for what became country, for what became bluegrass. It didn't really have an established name for it, but it was foundational to other lines of music. And hey, guess what? I'm not a huge country fan. I'm even less so a fan of bluegrass music. I know people like it. I'm not a fan. I understand its importance not only to history and to this film, but man, having to sit through almost, what was it? Like, how long was this movie?
Hour and 45
An hour and 45 minutes of that music just over and over and over and over again. I'm like, can we stop so I can take a breath?
Try reading the Odyssey sometime.
She has.
I did that like third.
Well, I know, but that's way longer.
What was you, Paul? That's
but considerably less old timey music.
What kind of music?
I can have the music in my head of whatever. I can sing the Odyssey in my head and make my own melody to whatever genre of music I prefer.
Yeah, I prefer the Eminem version of it.
I was gonna say you could do.
I know you mean the rapper, but now I'm picturing the animated Eminems singing this music.
Are
Anyway,
they fans?
Let's continue with Paul. What's something else you didn't like?
I kind of already said some of that with the KKK stuff.
Oh, okay.
I thought I agree with Drew, and that leads into my tragic maker, that and John Goodman, but it is just unnerving how technically good, well done that is. It's like, tell me that's not. Someone please tell me that some of that stuff is not authentic. Some of that, because that just looks so well done.
I have no idea because I've never.
I don't know either, and
No,
then part of me does
yeah.
not want to know.
And I don't want to know either. But
yeah.
All right, then let's go back to me. Something else. I didn't, and this is sort of a counter to my one of the things I liked, but I didn't care about any character in this other than Delmar.
Yep.
All these characters I could care less about. Go back to prison, whatever. Especially George Clooney's whole, there isn't really money. I'm like, oh my gosh, make him a toad and have the Cyclops squish him right now.
Yeah.
And that will lead into my tragic maker as well.
Okay.
But so
you're preaching to the choir, Francisco, because that
it sounds like I'm going to be defending something.
that
in a second.
leads into my tragic maker too.
So we'll all get on the hate train here in a moment, but Drew gets one more dislike before we do.
Well, considering my dislike is going to lead into y'all's hate train, I hate that there's a second ending to this because it really feels like once they get pardoned, the story's over. We don't need anything else.
Well,
Except
actually,
we still haven't seen the cow on the cotton shed.
Right.
So he haven't gotten the treasure that he was going to find, but it wasn't the one he sought, which is what the Oracle said at the beginning of the film. So we've got this other whole thing where George Clooney has to get his baptism by way of a flood.
I was about to say that's not a baptism.
And I hate, well, it's full immersion at least.
He didn't do it willingly.
And I hate to tell you this, when you back up, when you dam a lake, it doesn't fill up that fast.
What? You mean this isn't real?
Yeah, it's not real. No, I don't know. I don't see the point of the second ending, and that's gonna eventually get to my tragic maker. But I'll let y'all get y'all's out of the way first.
All right. Well, let's go with. I'm not sure who to start with. Let's go with Paul first.
Okay, because mine sounds a little bit different than y'all's. To use a Southern term there. This is again is for me personal. This movie feels to me, yes, it has good music and some gospel music and by some gospel singers, some well-noted one from from modern day ones, or at least back then they were well. Anyway,
when will then be now?
From the 2000s.
But there is a juxtaposition on so contrary to that. There is so much language and using profanity and taking the Lord's name in vain. It feels like this was made by a couple of godless heathens who really enjoy, taking people like Christians, like the Bible selling. I'm not saying that there aren't Bible sellers out there who are not really Christian, who aren't really in it for the money, or, there aren't, like, the KKK doesn't exist today, because it does. But to focus on those characters in such a way, I just don't like sitting through all that that kind of garbage, or at least the way I think of it as garbage. It's such a contrast to God's goodness and light.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for me to sit through that and enjoy a quote unquote adventure movie with it just seeped into that kind of muck throughout the whole thing.
I will say that, this movie does get a lot of Christianity wrong. And it's mostly just using the visuals and to essentially try and do, I guess, it's hard to say this considering these people didn't read the Odyssey either, to match what the Odyssey was doing, because it's supposed to be an adaptation.
Right.
But it kind of, it's annoying how little they seem to understand.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I mean, like the baptism scene is like, okay, that was cool, but you know, and George Clooney was absolutely right, theologically speaking, when Delmar says that he was safe from like on earth and in heaven, all his sins were absolved, and Clooney's character says, well, not on earth.
Yeah.
Police will go after you. Your sins aren't forgiven here, according to man, you know. But so there are some things that are accurate, but there was just so much of the other stuff that did not work for me. Like if I was a gospel singer and asked to be a part of this, I would and sing like the final outcome, I would be ashamed to be a part of this.
The final outcome, but
that's me.
I will say that the dialogue in here feels more like modern South than Depression era South. Because I have heard people talk like this around here on a regular basis. I don't like it when they use the Lord's name in vain either, and don't understand it. But yeah, there is an issue that it feels like the dialogue is more modern than it is of the era.
Gotcha. Let's go to Ashley next. What's your tragic maker for this film?
The characters in this movie are a tragedy. Watching them is tragic, and the fact that the movie is setting the audience up to root for them is also tragic, because it's a trio of criminals. They are dodging the law. George Clooney, in an attempt to get his wife back, which is noble, he is bringing two other people along for the ride. I mean, yes, they're friendly enough and they don't really have a choice, but he's forcing their hand. And the baptism scene for me was uncomfortable because those two, I don't even remember anyone's name outside of Delmar, Everett, and Pete. Okay, so Pete and Delmar, they get quote unquote saved, but then they continue to go along with Everett. Once you get saved, you're supposed to do your best to go and sin no more. If you believe
but
in
they weren't being properly discipled. So
I know, but they think just being in the water washes away everything, but they can go on living, which sometimes modern Christianity gets wrong, because some of these churches around the world were just like, oh, turn to Jesus. Baptism will absolve you from all these things. And while that is true, it's an outward expression of your inward faith. The water doesn't do anything if your heart's not with Jesus. And that to me was really hard to stomach, because it's like, oh, God's freed me of my sins, and then they just continue going along, breaking law after law, being with criminals.
Like real life for some people.
It was just I couldn't root for any of these characters. I was rooting for the police to get them. Like I said, the only time I smiled is when the police set the barn on fire the second time, just because it was so absurd. I'm like, this feels more like a cartoon than an actual movie. And honestly, the side characters are awful. A character that literally sold his soul to the devil to be a musician, which is based on something in history as well. A bank robbing cow killer. Like, I know that Babyface Nelson was real, but did we really have to have the heaviness of him just being heinous and shooting cows? And honestly, George Clooney's.
I don't know if the actual cow killing was an actual thing with Babyface Nelson.
Doesn't matter to me.
I think that was added because of the connection with the Odyssey. Anyway,
I hated all these characters. And honestly, like the swindler of scripture, the Bible salesman, he was deplorable. And even his ex-wife, she was horrible too. I need someone bona fide. And she's like, I counted to 3, and like saying like, oh, I'm gonna disown you because you went to jail. I need a provider. I'm going back to my maiden name, and all your daughters are gonna go back, and I'm only going after this man because he's bona fide. And the little girl's being raised in this like, oh, but are you bona fide? And it's like, no, I hate all of you. You characters are all deplorable. It's like, I want to throw myself in front of a train to get away from all of you characters, because they were just so unlikable. And I don't know how anyone can like this movie or like these characters, because everyone is just... It's like a den of debauchery in this movie. Everyone is reckless, and I know we live in a fallen world, and this movie is a perfect example of sin penetrating in the world and the sinful nature of people. I feel like that's just a perfect illustration, but I don't like a single person in this movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of like wide is the gate that leads to destruction, but narrow is the road that leads to the baptism scene.
Yeah,
that
and
makes
they're
you
on the
cringe.
long and winding road to seeking their treasure. For wherever your treasure is, there your heart is also, and they're in the den of thieves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do not seek the treasure.
Oh my gosh. Drew, why don't you? I feel like mine is gonna cause contention, so we'll end with it. What's your tragic maker, though?
I think so. His is bigger than yours.
Well,
Your
considering
Swatch is bigger.
I'm the one who actually likes this movie.
I love it. What are you talking about? I'm about to rate a classic. Anyway, but
Sure thing,
let's
Roy,
not get ahead of ourselves.
No, my tragic maker is that this movie needs to make a decision in the writing phase. Are you going to actually adapt the Odyssey, or are you going to stray so far away from it that it messes up what original stuff you're doing? It's either too closely adapting it, or it's not adapting the Odyssey enough, and I'm not sure which it is. It's in that weird little middle range where it's like, make up your mind, because there's some things like it's just like, oh, you did this because the Odyssey did it, but then that didn't change. It didn't affect you when you were doing this other thing that was actually good. Pick one. Pick your lane. Either adapt the Odyssey in the South in an hour and 45 minutes, or just say this was inspired by, and then tell your original story that kind of has connections with the Odyssey. Pick one, pick a lane, and go that way, because riding the stripe is not helping you any.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's pretty much that's actually my same tragic maker. This is not the Odyssey. I think I had a hair's chance of enjoying it a lot more if I didn't realize it had anything to do with the Odyssey. I'd be like, okay, this is strange adventure. I wouldn't have been looking for connections. I was like hoping for something that's a lot closer to the Odyssey. I'm like,
as one who never read it, how would you know?
It will
because I like the key story I know is the whole Odysseus telling the Cyclops that his name is nobody, and that's how he escapes, because the Cyclops' friend or family is like, who hurt you? He's like, nobody. And I thought that was always so clever. I loved that element of the Odyssey, even though I've never read it.
They didn't have that one scene in, you throw the whole movie out.
No, and the thing
it has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And the fact, like, the representation of the Cyclops in this, the Cyclops doesn't really get to wallop them with a big old stick pulled off a tree. No. The Cyclops doesn't temporarily win at all.
That's why I said it's either. They include tons of things in here. It's like, oh, this is obviously our Odyssey connection, but then you do things that aren't in the Odyssey
exactly
for the sake of the story.
Exactly.
I understand doing things for the sake of the story. Mm-hmm. That's why you don't actually say you're adapting the Odyssey.
Don't
say
loosely inspired.
There's so many movies out there that are quote unquote based on popular literature that you would not know until you looked at the trivia.
Exactly.
Why can't this be one of those?
Yeah. And then I was also thinking about just there's a similar movie which we haven't covered on the podcast, but I am very fond of that has a lot of the same sort of tropes of like different adventuring vignettes, like one character that goes through lots of different
episode.
What was that, Paul?
Is it the DuckTales episode?
I said we haven't covered it on the podcast.
No, the one episode with the movie that's like the
Odyssey. No, it's not that. But where we see this character grow and we root for them, they're likable, and that's Forrest Gump. I think Forrest Gump does what Oh Brother, We're Out There is hoping to do so much better. So
well, yeah, it won the Academy Award.
Well, there's a reason for it, I would think.
All right.
Well, can I just say, like,
and the Odyssey would have won an Academy Award if it was the Odyssey.
I don't think the Odyssey would have won an Academy Award. And I mean, when this movie came out,
any adaptation of the Odyssey is going to still going to have to cut out a lot of stuff.
It is because
into a 2-hour.
It's an epic poem. It is so incredibly long.
Not if it's
There's so many beats that are skipped. And honestly, if they say based on, they should just say inspired by, because they're saying if it's an adaptation, they're straight up lying. Yeah. Because if you have read the Odyssey and you like this, I question your judgment.
Well,
I don't. Are there two of them?
There's the Iliad
there
and the
was-
Odyssey.
The Iliad and the
Yeah.
Odyssey,
Yeah.
but
'Cause
there's
the Odyssey is technically the sequel, but this doesn't even have an Iliad to go with it.
No,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't really set a foundation. It doesn't really set
I
anything,
thought
and
the
it's
idiot
just
was Homer.
Oh my gosh.
If this movie, if they had set up to where Ulysses Everett, when he did get sent into prison, it was because of
someone
Vernon.
yeah.
Vernon Waldrop is the one who turned him in, and then she goes and marries him. Okay, you've got your Iliad thing going there, perhaps, but it doesn't even have that.
No.
Yeah.
We don't know why he's there. We just know that he's escaping and he's
And he works for the villain.
Yeah, and he's manipulating people, being like, "Okay, I got treasure.
Well,
I had to take it with me."
they did such a bad job. I'm sure we'll never hear the Coen brothers ever again.
Oh, you do, sadly.
Yes. But now that we've entered all our trajectories into the firing computer, Alice, do you have a firing solution for us?
Firing solution complete. Rating salvo armed and ready to fire on your mark.
What? I think she meant it's adapted by the Salvo Authority.
How dare you, PaulDPowers.com. All right, it's time for the moment of truth. Do we rate Oh Brother, Where Art Thou from 2000 a classic? We'd recommend anyone go see it, whether or not they've seen it before. A nostalgic, if you saw it when it originally came out or saw it as a kid and you have fond memories of it, yeah, watch it again. It'll be a good time. But if you've never seen it before, pick something else. Or do we rate it a tragic? It's not worth anyone's time today. If you've never seen it before, definitely keep it that way. And if you have seen it before, don't sully any good memories you have of it with a rewatch. So let's start with our guests as we like to. Let's start with you, Ashley. You had predicted before you watched it that you would rate it a tragic. What did you end up rating it?
The tragic stance.
Oh, okay.
I think going into it, I thought it was just going to be stupid. And the movie ended up mildly angering me at times. And again, when you can't invest in the characters and you can't invest in the storyline and you can't really invest in anything, you just feel like you've been robbed of your time. And what I would say is it probably wasn't worth seeing when it came out 24 years ago. It's certainly not worth seeing now. If you're going to be watching a George Clooney movie from the year 2000, just go watch The Perfect Storm instead, please.
Did that came out the
Really?
same year?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That I saw
And you
that
think
movie. I saw
And that's
that
a better one?
in my mind's eye. Yes, it was a
All
bad
right.
movie, but it was better than this one.
Was that based on a true story too?
Yes.
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 It was.
And everybody died. Spoiler.
Except for me. You know why?
No.
Had my trade.
Because I had my tray table
Exactly.
up.
So tragic from Ashley. Drew, you're the lone predictor of classic when we were going through predictions. Where did it end up for you?
I hate to believe that I have to disagree with Ashley on anything. However, this is still a classic film for me.
What? How? What? I mean,
even with all
really?
the negative comments I made, those are not as there's not as much vitriol in my dislikes as there apparently was in all three of y'all's. So I shall be the lone beacon on this wall of hatred that says this is a classic film.
Well, we'll see where it ends up. Now,
Yeah.
shall we?
Now, before we get to me and Paul's ratings, we go to your Reflex Capacitors. If you are supporting the podcast for $5 a month, you get a voice too. You all get to vote together, and I sort of average out the votes. But you are all, from the people that voted, unanimous in voting Oh Brother, Where Art Thou a classic as well. So you're with Team Drew, apparently.
I'm sorry, but y'all are wrong.
According to you, Ashley, but me and Paul, who knows, maybe we were swayed.
Maybe we're wrong too.
I don't think y'all were wrong. I think the rewinders were wrong on this one. Enjoy what you can, but just know that you're wrong.
Well, let's see. Let's see
Guns
where
and
this
blazes.
podcast
Agree with you, Ashley.
in on whole
But
come.
I say it with a smile. You're wrong.
Like Babyface Nelson.
Yeah, just watch another movie. Go watch if you want to watch a terrible George Clooney movie. Go watch 1997's Batman and Robin. At least you can understand what the people are saying in that movie.
Hey, everybody, chill.
Ashley, Ashley, I can understand everything in this film.
I'm from the Northeast. I'm from the Northeast.
We
talk
struggled.
We
talk
very fast, and we have decent diction. And it's nothing against the actors; they were great for the period in time.
I gotta stand with Drew.
You do know that
I understood
you do know that
every.
Technically,
did you have subtitles on, Paul?
Speaking the Queen English.
Yeah, I understood every word because I had subtitles on.
We tried to have subtitles on. They didn't come up.
Yeah, I was having the same problem, but then
with subtitles.
Yeah, we're using someone's copy, which we're appreciative of that he has it, but his subtitles weren't working. So, but Paul, let's get back to you. You had predicted tragic? What was your final rate?
Yeah. For me, I do not like this movie, but I predicted tragic, but I'm not going to rate it a tragic.
Oh.
And for those who are thinking maybe I'm going to help turn the tide toward a classic, I would say, do not seek the treasure. Because I'm going to go with actually nostalgic this
Really?
time.
Okay. Okay.
Because I think it fits the definition of if you enjoyed it before, I think that you would enjoy it again. And if you've never seen this before, I would definitely not recommend it. So,
all right.
Why I chose nostalgic this time and not nostalgic for Blues Brothers, I'll never know.
That's actually a very good question.
Yeah, that is a good question.
But I was going to let that slide.
Sometimes I feel like what I go for personally, and other times I feel like going with the general crowd.
All right.
And this time I feel like going with the general crowd. I don't know why.
Well, go ahead. You can finish. I'm sorry.
But that may lead us into a little predicament. I'm kind of curious how this pans out.
Point of contention.
Yeah. So for me, I, without any discussion, agree with my wife that this is a tragic movie. I think I could, like I said, I think I may have seen nostalgic if it wasn't connected with the Odyssey at all. But that it was, and that there was no. You said it was magical at the beginning, Drew. I saw nothing magical in this.
I said there was magic in it because there's a bit of supernatural involved in this film. I did not say that it was there was.
With the guy with the fortune teller, the blind guy, the blind. What's the oracle? The blind oracle that you will see this.
I will admit, magic was the wrong word. I should have said supernatural.
Even I'll give you that.
There is some supernatural.
The devil is in the details, aka the devil, because Tommy sold his soul to the devil. The devil is everywhere. He's corrupting all of these sinners in this movie.
Apparently. Devil ain't real if you ask the Coen brothers.
Wow.
Oh, the devil is real, and he went down to Georgia, but apparently took some time in Mississippi.
He lost to a fiddle player. Come on, he can't be that bad.
Yeah, I
didn't see a golden fiddle here.
I rate, like I said, like I was about to say, I rate A Brother Where Art Thou Tragic. I didn't care for it. I wouldn't ever recommend anyone go see this. And I'd probably say if you remember liking it, great, but go just listen to the soundtrack. You probably just remember liking the soundtrack. Just go listen to that again.
We'll never watch it again, don't worry.
Okay.
It can't hurt you anymore.
Wow. But what
if one of our sponsors, our patrons for the patron picks, repicks this movie?
I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
Well, what if it gets lost like some of our other lost? Don't lose this movie, otherwise we have to review it again.
The only thing Francisco wants to lose are memories of this movie.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you know what? Also, something else. If Clooney had come along with at the very end, like he's praying, he's like, God, please save me. And then he's saved, and he's like, oh, no, there isn't a guy. It's just like, oh, my gosh. The whole thing in the Odyssey was that, and because I actually watched like 23 like short Cliff Notes videos about the whole Odyssey, so I was better informed. Apparently, the whole thing with Odysseus is that he recognizes the power of the gods at the end. So it's like, it's completely different.
Yeah. Well,
once again, this is only inspired.
Well, they shouldn't have said that.
It's not really based on it.
They should say
what the credit said.
Those people that are curious in our spiritual speculation segment, we'll be speaking more about that scene later.
Awesome. But according to the Retro Round podcast, I'm going to have to do it this way because I'm just going to say The two tragics cancel out the two classics, so we're left with a nostalgic movie, according to the Retro Rewind podcast. A disputed,
I'll live with that.
highly disputed, nostalgic movie.
You're welcome, people. I did that for you.
Wow. But now it's time to get back to our own time. Good old 20XX.
20XX?
Calm sat online, awaiting incoming transmissions.
Feels good to be back. But we wouldn't have been able to travel back to 2000 to begin with if it weren't for our amazing reflux capacitors, namely Deborah Powers, Geek Devotions, Drew of the Cellcast. Oh, you're right here. Woohoo! Ashley Ruiz, you're here too. Woohoo! Kenneth Thin, Fabulous Lomax, Lazar Babo, D. Tungsten, Mr. Lost, Daryl Hafner, Cool Deluxe, Dustin, He's a Big Deal Warford, Flux, Redeemed Otaku, in addition to 2 other awesome patrons as well. Thank you all so much for keeping the gigawatts coming. And if you want to help keep us flying and get bonus content for your generosity, like the spiritual speculation Paul just alluded to, then head over to retrorewindpodcast.com/support to start.
This stream is sponsored by PaulJPowers.com.
Hey, Francisco.
Yes,
I was wondering, or I'm really grateful to all these supporters, but if there's someone who can't support us financially, is there a way for them to still support the show?
Well, yeah, actually, there's a couple ways, Paul. So
great.
you listening probably enjoyed this episode if you made it this far. So if you aren't driving and filled with rage at those of us who either rated classic or rated tragic, then tap the share icon in your podcast player and send this episode to a friend saying, I know you like or hate Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? So I thought you'd like this episode on it. Another thing you could do is leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or any podcatcher you have that has a review feature. Similar to Philip Hurd, who recently gave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts saying, fun show. A fun podcast that revisits films from the past, silly at times in a good way, and enjoyable. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. And and thank you to our guests who were on the show. And that's not.
I wrote it for you because I know I changed it, so I rewrote it.
Edna mode.
All right.
And guest.
And guest. No capes. Cool. Sorry. Take 3. Cool. Thank you to everyone who shared. Let me read this first. Thank you to everyone who has shared the show and left a review. They left the review. Okay. Cool. Thank you to everyone who has shared the show and left a review. And speaking of thanking people, we also want to give a big chain gang hug to Ashley Ruiz and Drew Dodgen for supporting us with their thoughts about Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And since I like to go alphabetically, we'll start with Ashley. Where can people find you online if you want to be found?
Oh, people can find me and they can tell me that maybe I was a little harsh on this movie.
Right on the money.
Or right on the money, wherever you may land. But you can find me predominantly on the platform formerly known as Twitter that we can't stop calling Twitter at Ashley Ruiz 1186 to see me talk about faith and fandom.
Awesome.
Cool. And Drew, thank you so much for coming on again and sharing your thoughts. I know the police are after us, but where can they find you online? Is there anything cool going on that they should know about, or
Sting
anyone
is
should know about?
following you? What?
Well, because escape from the chain gang.
Well, I thought the police, the band. Anyway, go ahead, Drew.
Oh.
I am Drew Dodge, and I am a co-host. I am the co-host of the Cellcast podcast.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Retro Rewind podcast. You've been on so many lately.
That too.
All right.
Right. Currently, I say this currently because I'm skipping an episode. Currently, I am skipping an episode.
Yeah.
But if something
you
falls
thought you were
through,
going
you got
on
my
hiatus.
number.
You thought you were going on hiatus, but no, we captured you over here.
Yeah, Jacob got the hiatus. I did not. However, our last hiatus episode has come out. The next episode I am releasing, which will be after this, would be before this episode comes out, will be the entire coverage of our X-Men 97 that was previously exclusive to our Patreon listeners.
Oh, cool.
Now I'm releasing it to everybody.
Very
and then by the Friday, I believe this episode comes out, we will be coming back with our first new recording since Jacob's marriage to his Ashley. And we will be reviewing Tiny Toon Adventures, How I Spent My Vacation, which I keep wanting to say summer, but that's apparently not in the title.
Ah, interesting.
I have
That's a
that
goodie.
Berenstain Bear effect too.
Yeah, I could have
Such a
sworn it was called How I Spent My Summer Vacation, which tells me an announcer probably said that at one time.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what we're coming back with, and I will go ahead and get this out of the way. Ashley, I disagree with your opinions.
It's okay.
I think you were a touch harsh, but I understand not liking the film.
No. She was the right amount of harsh. You were too soft on this film, Drew. That's what it was.
Well, my husband and I are in agreement, so yay.
Yes.
Roy, hush your mouth.
My name ain't Roy.
That's right. I do, but more seriously, Drew, I do want to thank you again for having me and Paul be on the Heron hiatus. And I'm curious, are we closer to winning the trophy? And in case you don't know, listeners,
there is not a trophy.
Drew told me and Paul secretly,
there is no
if you
trophy.
guys get the most downloads of any of the Heron hiatus episodes,
seek the trophy.
we will get a treasured trophy. I think it's like a bust of George Clooney or something. I don't know why we get that, but
trophy.
So go and make sure you listen to the Chrono Trigger Tex Avery episode on the Cellcast, so me and Paul get that trophy.
I'll buy you a plastic
what?
trophy from Dollar Tree if it'll make you stop.
What?
You know what? Sure, there is a trophy. It's a gold-plated Blu-ray of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Do you really want this trophy?
Don't tell him it's gold plated. He'll sell that lickety split.
Let me melt that down. Joke's on you. Anyway, thank you.
There is no trophy. You're going to be lucky to get an emoji.
Thank you so much, Ashley, Drew, my Ching Gang friend Paul, and all your rewinders, new and old, for another fun voyage. We also want to thank Alutrick for enhancing our music. Find him at alutrick.bandcamp.com or youtube.com/@alutrick. That's spelled ALLOOUTRICK. Then the number 8266 for the YouTube. So thank you so much to him. Yeah, and thank you all.
Yeah, and you're welcome. And you can find me, pauljpowers.com. I am at pauljpowers.com.
.com, I see. And you can find me on our Discord for show announcements or just to say hi. Join us there at retrorewindpodcast.com/Discord. And keep up to date with the board game I'm currently designing over at junkyardjuggernauts.com.
This podcast is...
Let me do that all over again. Sorry.
Edna mode. Numero cuatro.
Roy X Franco, Yoshi, this is what I give you for that.
My name ain't Roy.
That's right. All right, let's try this again.
Francisco Royes.
And call me when you get back, darling. I enjoy our visits.
Take a breath.
All right.
Yes, words are useless. Come. Too much of it, darling. Too much.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box, a curated collection of podcasts, videos, and articles that will provide you a balanced meal of content. You will find culture celebrated for its past and future, satirized for its extremes, explored in study, and created anew in story. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
And as the sheriff just said, we are now part of the Chain Gang Culture Box Media Network. Find all the shows unpacking truth through story, comedy, and geekery at culturebox.media.
Thank you, XO, and thank you for listening. We pray you are more joyful today than when you first hit play. But like a Pokemon, we gotta catch you all for Star Trek 2009, our next adventure on the Retro Rewind podcast.
Retro Rewind mission complete. Proceed to base to await next mission.
And stay out of the Woolworth.
Is that just one location or is it the whole chain?
That was a great question. I was wondering the same thing.
I think it's probably just that location. Yeah. All right. So thank you, everyone who is watching. Yoshi, Bobo, has some new people here. Jeremy Wilson.
The band people that got
well, that was a bot, yeah. Pro Row. Let's see. I think
Psychotab.
Psychotab was the one I banned because he is promoting cheap viewers. I don't need cheap viewers. I need rich viewers.
Don't we all?
Yeah. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Star Trek 2009. Oh wow, Retro is getting up there. Yes, exactly. But
I'll be waiting on the call if you need me.
Okay. Well, I know Ashley wants to be on. I still need to reach out to Paul's mom if she's going to be on or not.
Your mom goes to college.
Really?
Sorry.
Your mom goes to Starfleet Academy.
Wow. Actually, I guess that store still works.
That one's super old.
Yeah.
Can I get a shirt from there?
I
one that doesn't fade as much?
Maybe.
I was going to say they fade equally as much because I can tell you that I bought some like 3-ish years ago. They do fade.
Oh.
This doesn't seem so... Oh, no. There's no photo at the top, but if you scroll down, yes, there's merch there.
Yes, there is.
Plus, I don't see the normal Retro Rewind in here.
Yeah, this is old stuff.
Yeah, this is old stuff.
Yes.
This is just for the streams. Okay, so I don't know what to tell you. I guess don't go there unless you want really old stuff.
So where could people go if they wanted to?
I don't know because Stream Elements changed their shop. So
no, like retrorewindpodcast.com/store, or where can people go? You don't even know.
Sounds like you need to fix some
to
things.
Google.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd wear a shirt that says "Don't call me Roy." Name ain't Roy.
Oh, would you? Okay, that's good to know.
I wouldn't.
What?
You need one that says "Howdy Roy" then too.
This store is offline. Please ask Retro Rewind Pod to migrate their store to our fourth wall so you can buy their merch.
Okay. Is that where that merch link took you?
Well, yeah, from the retrorewindpodcast.com/merch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I need to do that. All right. Good to know that's...
I'll be getting our store updated soon because we're going to get some new t-shirt designs.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
All right.
Vote for Retro.
We are going to stop the stream and go record our spiritual speculation. But thank you guys so much. Old merch died. Yeah, exactly.
Rip.
Okay, bye.
Are you playing Napoleon again, Paul?
Darn it. I need to...
Heck yes, I did.
Oh my gosh.
I need to reduce these. There's too many of them. I need to...
Well, until next time, here's your stream face all.
Where have you been? Whatever I feel like I want to do. Gosh. That's a pretty good idea.